actually was a good thing to make power, to make private sector invest in power. Take and pay is what? I signed something called a PPA. PPA is an agreement that I'll be producing 100 megawatts of power, and I'm selling to you. And you either take or pay. Initially, it was good to make me see value for my capital. But we need to liberalize generation of power in Kenya. It is better we have power we don't know where to take than have a deficiency in power in Kenya. Because all the other variables will be determined by how much capacity of power we have. Generative AI consumes around 8 times power than normal search engine. Generative AI, the one we all use here, generative, Gen AI, ile unauliza maswali. They use 8 times power, the background of it, than the one normal search engine like Google. 8 times. So it means the demand for power globally now has only one direction. One direction called headed north. Going high, going up. And this is not likely to change. And our government policy must be so deliberate now that let's liberalize these PPA things. That ukiingia in power hivi, the best way to secure your future is to sign a PPA with Kenya Power, with arbitrators based in London, so that even if any other government comes and they want to revise these terms, their heads, their legs are tied. So we can continue paying political rent even after the occupiers of the office are long gone. And then we continue strangulating our own economy. We must liberalize power production in Kenya. Let's produce so much power. These laws we have, after you produce these megawatts, you have to sell to Kenya Power. No, we break it down. If an industry needs 50 megawatts, let them produce without selling to anyone. They use it. Because you're already deficient in power. We produce as much power as possible. And we become a center of disease because we have a nice story we can sell. We can even tell Microsoft, we can tell Meta, Amazon, and all the rest, we give you land. We also give you resources. Produce your own electricity. Set up your DCs here. Those terms will benefit Kenya better than just sitting around with 3,000 megawatts of power, an economy of over 50 million, and you are talking about manufacturing. Which one? One dam called Grand Renaissance Dam in Ethiopia. One. They are producing over 5,000 megawatts of power, selling to all of us around. And they're in the process of making another one of 3,000. Let me tell you guys, tutakuwa tunasoma Ethiopia kwa gazeti. Why should we make this happen when you have the opportunity to change the fortunes for Kenya now and in the future? We must break these PPA things and we liberalize power production because power is the biggest handicap that Kenya has in terms of production. And my opinion on power again, because I've been thinking about it. By the way, sometimes I wake up at night to think about Kenya in some sectors. And I write down some points because they disturb me. Take a company like Kengen. The government of Kenya owns 70% of Kengen. Is it 60 or 70? I think 70. What's the value of Kengen? If you bought Kengen today, the entire value is 63 billion shillings. 63. Kengen will be yours. But they are producing, let's say, close to 2,000 megawatts. Ethiopia, Nigeria, there are two companies that I would love giving examples with because they are listed. One company is called Geregu Power. They are producing less than half of what Kengen is producing. But their market valuation is 200 billion Kenya shillings. There's another one called Transcorp Power. They produce less than half what Kengen is producing. But their value is 200 billion Kenya shillings. Meaning Kengen, if we got a strategic investor, we could value Kengen at more than 350 billion Kenya shillings. We don't need to invest 1 shilling in the budget. We need a strategic investor, comes with money, The government sits part of the 70%, remains with only 35%, value it correctly at 350 billion, all this money can come and produce double the capacity we have in Kenya. We will have spent no money, we will have generated much more energy than we need, and the more you produce, the less the uptake cost and price. And then we make our economy much better, much more recipient to anyone who would want to invest in a place that has abundant power. Very lastly, outside of the things I was doing, I think today I'm not to talk about shares. I talked about them last time. Just keep on investing in the areas that are important, not just land. Since we met in Mombasa, the reason I'm not talking about shares, that day Kenya Power, for example, was trading at 12 shillings. It is today trading at 18. I know some of you I talked to who actually bought that day, because I mentioned, when we met in Mombasa, Equity Bank was then trading at around 60. Today it is 74 shillings. I'm not mentioning them to tell you to go and buy them. I'm mentioning to you so that you go and evaluate the companies listed in the NSC. NSC is still very undervalued. There are still very many opportunities in the NSC. Please, take advantage of such things, which you don't need to tire your mind too much. One afternoon is enough. You analyze, you make your decisions, you buy. And after you buy, the exit is quite simple. When you need money, you have it. Not just like the static wealth that we accumulate. I continue to say, as I told you last time, Safaricom is undervalued the way we are selling it, because I've told you the market is undervalued in Kenya. And we are doing a mistake as Kenya to sell Safaricom for 34 shillings. Last Friday, Safaricom was trading in the market at 34.25. Last Friday. But you are here selling to foreigners at 34. The company that was trading at 45 shillings in 2021, we are here selling it at 34 and expecting Kenyans to clap for us. That is the level of incompetence that Kenya cannot accept. This transaction, as I said the other day in a press conference, government has to revisit this transaction. And Vodacom, which is the parent of the buyers buying Safaricom, if there is any deal you have done with any government official, which is making Kenya lose over 100 billion, you are going to take the burden. The directors of Vodacom, I said, I'm waiting to see their response. Because I'll give Kenyans their phone numbers. If government cannot speak for us in the sale of Safaricom, Kenyans will directly speak to the directors of Vodacom, including the chairman and the CEO. Because there is no way I'll be here as an MP and as a leader. I have experience in the stock market. I know people are taking advantage of Kenya, and people tell me, oh, for political decency, you can't do that. Political decency when Kenya is losing 100 billion. What's Aikai? Are you getting me, my brothers and sisters? We have to do the right thing. If we get 100 billion more, Kenya builds more roads, we generate more electricity, and we lower the cost of education, Kenya becomes better. Education is my very, very last point. I told you, Kiharu, we are paying 500 shillings per term. I have been in my previous position. I know 100%. Kenya is